Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, you're still awake? That's good. My name is Grant Dawson. As was said earlier, I am here this morning. I have been here before. I was the minister down the street for 37 years, and I used to come here a lot for meetings and get-togethers. And usually, the only other time I've been here in worship was on Good Friday. So I thank you for inviting me today when it's not Good Friday. Not that that wasn't a good service, but you'll see that I do other things as well. It's not just, he's a minister every Good Friday. I'd also like to congratulate you in the way you're carrying on with the change of ministry staff here. I think it's very important that the lay people are coming up and doing the worship. And I'll actually be referring to that during the service today because it's an important part of what the church is like. And I wish you all the best in the process of finding a new ministerial team here and putting them together and continuing with the good work you do here in the East End part of Calgary. I'd also like this morning, and I hadn't planned to say this, but I'm going to say it now because it's important to me, I'd like to give you the Best Preaching Microphone in Calgary Award. Now, I don't know if that's an actual award, but I preach now that I'm retired in many, many churches, and we get the most fragile, awkward, continually needing to be adjusted kind of microphone. So there's one church I have to sort of stand and hold it and talk like this. And there's one that actually has a bar across the back, so I can't, and my knees are shot, as you probably noticed when I walk up here. So people say, well, who did you have come today? Well, I don't know, but his knees were shot and his neck was shot, and we heard him preach, and I think his brain was shot too, but that's another point. So I'd like to thank you for giving me a microphone. It is solid. It's on there, and I don't need to worry about it. And we're going to look this morning, as you have probably guessed if you've been perceptive, at Matthew 14:13 to 21, the story of Jesus feeding the thousands. It's probably one of the most loved, one of the most remembered, and in a sense, one of the most memorable stories in all the Gospels. And rightly so. I mean, it has sort of everything you would want to have in a story about Jesus. You've got Jesus doing something that's wonderful and magnificent. You have the needy, the poor, the broken being fed and healed. And you have the gracious power of God poured out on the people. And everyone goes home happy and full. I mean, you really can't want a much better story than that for a Sunday morning. That's the gospel. But on reflecting on it this week, I realized that over my ministry, I've spent many, many hours looking at this exact passage in Bible studies because it's almost impossible to do a study of the Gospels without mentioning the feeding of the 5,000. And most of those studies concentrated on what actually happened, what really happened then. For many, it's exactly as you saw in the video there. He took the loaves and the fishes and fed the 5,000. Other people think different things. There's one which says what it really was Jesus teaching the people to share, that he began to share the little bit he had, and everyone opened their lunch bags and got out their lunches and shared them. And at the end, as with most potluck suppers, there was enough left over to take out into the neighboring towns. Some people, scholars usually, read the words and notice that we have 4 verbs in a row, which are very interesting. Take, bless, break, and give. Communion. Some say, this is Jesus' communion with all the people. This is the heart of our gospel. It's why the table stands here center in the church. And that's good too. And then there are some theories that are just, well, you can actually laugh at this one I'm going to tell you about. I heard about it in university, and it's still out there when I did research this week. It's the theory of the cave. Now, what they said was, you see, in the limestone hills around Galilee, there are a lot of caves. And what had happened is that Jesus' disciples brought out food, put it in one of the caves, covered it over with vines, and then as Jesus broke the bread, he would reach back and get more food. Yeah, all right. I don't know. I not only do I not know why they first thought of it, but why it's still out there, I don't know. I mean, it's almost a Monty Python skit, actually. But But the interesting thing is that as we get caught up debating what really happened, other than the fact it was something marvelous and magnificent that people remembered, we miss the main part of the story, which is right in the center, and it's usually read over quite quickly because we want to get to the feeding, because that's the important part. That's the part we're interested in. So here we have Jesus, as we saw in the video, standing by the shore, the crowds up on the hills in front of him. The sun began to set over those hills, and at some point during the preaching and the healing, because it was probably a mixture of things that were going on, the disciples came up to Jesus and said, "Jesus, it's getting dark. The people are hungry. The kids are beginning to run around and scream. We need food. They're going to be complaining in a few minutes, and we haven't got anything here." And this is the line, and part of it I noticed was missing in the video. Too bad. Jesus said to them, that is, Jesus said to the disciples, they need not go away. The crowd doesn't need to go home. You give them something to eat. You give them something to eat. Now, we aren't told exactly what happened at that point, but you can imagine the look on the face of the disciples. Jesus, we got nothing here. We got a little couple of barley loaves and some fishes, and we don't certainly have money to go in. We'd like to order sandwiches for 5,000, please, to go. We can't do that. Help us here. We're also not told what Jesus did, but I'm sure probably he just stopped and closed his eyes and sighed deeply and looked at the disciples and said, you haven't learned, have you? You've been with me, you've watched me, you've seen what I do, you've felt my faith, you've seen what God has done for me, through me, and you still haven't got it. You are the ones who are going to be out there after I'm gone. You're the ones who are going to be doing the works of God. And you can't just stand around all the time and say, well, we got nothing here. We don't know how to do this. We're not good enough to do this. We don't have the right training. No, you're going to be called upon to do things, and you've got to be ready to do it. And then Jesus went on and said, and this is how it's done. And the people were fed, and the story was remembered. And you see, the reason this is important for the church is because the disciples and the people in the early Christian communities and people throughout the years and we ourselves often forget this. And we see faith as sort of something that we do, and we ask God, we ask Jesus, and it happens, and then we go, well, there's another problem solved, isn't it? And that's not what the story said at all. The story said that as people of faith, we're called to action. We're called to do something, not just to sit and say, well, we told God about this, and I guess God will take care of it. This is what's going to happen. God's going to do something, and it'll be amazing, and we can all be happy. No. We now, especially us today, we are those people. We are the ones to whom Jesus is speaking. We are the ones to whom Jesus is saying, there's a problem there. Right. Go and fix it. And we're exactly like the disciples. We're going to say, well, we can't. We don't have any ideas. We'll have to set up a committee. Oh, yeah, that's always good. We're going to set up a committee, by the way, is exactly the same as we're not going to do anything. But we're going to set up a committee, and eventually we'll come up with something. We'll do we'll put things on the chart and do a brainstorming, and then. No, says Jesus, when something comes into your life which is difficult, you're being called in the name of Christ to act. Do something. You may not have the whole solution. You may not see the whole picture. You may feel, I am totally inadequate to do this, but you're doing it. As I said earlier, that's something I'm really excited about, having been here a couple of weeks ago and then today, to see the lay people standing up, not because they say, well, I'm the best singer, I'm the best prayer, I'm the best whatever, so I'm going to go up there. No, because the church has called upon me to do something in faith, and I'm going to do it, and I'm going to find out if this faith thing is really all that it's cracked up to be. And by the way, I believe that it is. The rabbis used to say that every passage of Scripture is a mikra, and that's a Hebrew word meaning a call, an invitation, a summons. When you're reading the Bible, you're not reading a story. I mean, otherwise you can just sit back and, oh, isn't that good? 2,000 years ago, Jesus fed people. That's an interesting story. Now let's read the next one. No, it's 2,000 years ago, Jesus fed people, and he turned to his disciples and say, now you feed them too. And that makes it very different, because it's suddenly saying to us, wow, we have to nurture a faith that is strong enough and deep enough to be able to give people something to eat. Just think of the last week that people have come up to you and they've asked you to do something, or you've suddenly been faced with a challenge, or something absolutely unpredicted happened in your life. You went to the doctor's office and got that diagnosis you did not want to get. You called your friend and found out something that's very hurtful in their life, and you've said your first reaction was exactly like the disciples. Well, I've got nothing here. I can't fix that. I can't say anything there. We're called upon to say, I'm going to do something. I'm going to step into the unknown and find out exactly how God works. That's why we come here on Sunday, to sort of prepare ourselves for the mikra, for the call. You're going to walk out the street here today, and there's going to be something that comes up to you, something you should do, and your first reaction is going to be, well, maybe I can get out of it. And your second reaction, hopefully, will be, God with me, I'm going to. And that's what the faith life is ultimately about. It's not about theory or theology or Bible study, though all good, please, all good, but it's ultimately about responding to Christ's call. You feed them. You can take care of the problem. One way I found to nurture this is coming to church. A second way is the way I begin every day, and it's called the little things method. Now, the little things method means that when I get up, I immediately try to attune myself to the world around me and see things that need to be done. Little things, nothing big. I'm not awake yet, but I haven't had my coffee yet. But, little things. So there are little things that I can do. For example, I'll get out of bed and I'll see that, as I did this morning, that toonie that's been lying on the floor for a week. And we're all too old and feeble to pick it up and put it on it's there. That's the same one was there. Maybe it isn't the same one. Maybe it's different. I don't know. I picked it up. I went downstairs. There was a pot on the stove. We'd cooked some meat for the dog last night. It was still on the stove. Should be in the sink. Should be soaking because it's got sticky meat in it. I did that. I had my breakfast. And I saw something else. Now you're saying, this is not really a great faith story. No, it isn't. But what it's doing is it's teaching me, as I'm getting going in the morning, as the generators begin to produce power, it's teaching me that there are things that need to be done. Pick up the toonie. And that I have the power to do them. That God has placed in me the ability to do things that are good. And once we get to that stage, then the rest of the day opens up. You're at work. Somebody comes up to you and says, can you do this? And rather than saying, well, no, I'm really busy. Well, yeah, let's meet at noon and we'll see what we can do there. The call, the response. God has given us, and this is what Jesus wanted his disciples to understand, our daily bread. That's just not a physical thing. God gives us every day of our lives what we need. Sometimes it doesn't even look like enough. Well, that's not very much bread. Go out, share it, and you'll find there's more bread. There's more things. There's more power. It's the way we grow. It's the way we discover who we are. It's the way we discover what the Christian life is about. And the Christian life is not about fish love. How many have heard that phrase? No, they're not words we usually put together. But it's what Rabbi Twersky talks about. And he talks about a conversation that an old man and a young man have. And the older man says, so son, you like fish, eh? And the young man says, oh, I love fish. Fish are so delicious. I've got some recipes that will just knock your socks off. And the old man sits back and says, so you like fish so much that you take them out of the water, kill them, gut them, and fry them. This is how you show you love them. See, that's fish love. And we all engage at one time or another, for one reason or another, in fish love. That is, we love people, or we say we love people, because of what they can do for us. Oh, I love her because she's got tickets to the Flames game. Wonderful person. I love him because he makes me laugh. I love them because they helped me get my last job. And quite often, a lot of the love that we say we have as Christians is fish love. It's where we're liking them for something we're going to get back. I'm going to get something back from you. I'm going to get something back from you. I'm going to get to go to the Flames game or whatever, and therefore I love you. Of course you love them. But that's not the love that Jesus talked about. That's not what the Christian life is about. We love people because we see we can enter into their lives. We can reach out to them. We can be with them. We can share together the power of Christ in us and do wonderful things in the world. That's real love. Not that we get some great reward out of it, other than the fact that we're living, and we're living as Christ told us to live, which is how God wants us to live, which is what we're really meant to do. So we gradually grow in faith, trusting that God has given us what we need to meet the challenges, because that's what we need to meet the challenges, and then we discover the world is wondrous. I'd put a footnote on that, and this footnote goes to Naomi Raymond, who talked about a young minister who had been called to the hospital. This woman was dying, and he had to go right away. And he was new. I was once new. And it was pretty terrifying. All the way there, I was thinking now, what did the professor say? What books have I read? Have I got a quick quote? Have I got a story from the Bible I can read? I'll do something. I really want to, show how good I am as a minister. And he got there, and the woman was in the bed, and he sat down and took her hand and said hi, and he was brand new, so he didn't even know her name, really. And they sat there, and she told her life story about who she was, where she was from, the memories she had, the things she really was proud of, things that had held her back. He spent 15, 20 minutes, and then she got rather tired, so he slipped out her hand and said a short prayer and left. And you know what? He felt terrible, because he hadn't done anything. I had planned to give I had a wonderful quote from Thomas Merton I was going to give, and I forgot all about it. And I couldn't think of any Bible passages, and I was sort of tongue-tied praying, just, God, give her, make her better. And she recovered. And 2 months later, she was at church. She came up and she shook his hand, and she said, I want to thank you for that visit. That visit buoyed me up at a very difficult time. And your wonderful words just inspired me. Of course, he didn't actually remember saying much other than, how are you, and may God make you better. But you see, when we act in faith, God gives us what we need to do what we have to do, and it will have results. It will have ramifications far beyond what any of us can ever imagine. You've always got to remember that. Sometimes you leave a meeting, for example, and you say, well, I talked, but it didn't really make any difference. You don't know where God is going to take that. But that's what God does. God takes what we offer, like our offering a few minutes ago, like the loaves and the fishes, and God multiplies them far more than we can ever imagine. There was a couple at Knox when I was over there, used to sit right at the back row, and I noticed once that they weren't there, and I suddenly realized they hadn't been there for about a month. So I went back to people I knew were acquainted with them, and I said, where are Betty and Sam? I haven't seen them around in, at least a month. And they said, they sold all their savings bonds or something, and they've got around the world for 3 months because you told them to. And now I'm getting older and I do forget things, but at that time I was still in my right mind, and I couldn't ever remember saying to them, sell everything you have and go around the world for 3 months. Just, whoa. And they said, well, it was in your Easter sermon. Nope, not there. They returned, and I went back, shook their hands, and I said, I've been told that you did this because of me. What did I say? And they said, well, remember Easter? You talked about we're all in our cocoons, and we've got to break out new life like Christ, a whole new life, whole new existence, whole new way of living things. And we suddenly realized that we were both retired, We were sitting at home, doing nothing, doing the same thing every day, hanging on to life because that's what we did, and we needed something more, and so that's what we did. We've traveled, we went right around the world, all because of you. Well, it wasn't all because of me. It was because something I had done in the Spirit had moved them to do something which had probably moved other people, and that's how things really are. We are fed by Christ. You will have, as you go from this place today, whatever you need to have a life that is full and meaningful. You will be able to share what you have with others in a way that will transform them and change them and alter our world. And that's what it's about. But we've got to have faith to do it. We've got to take the chance. Sometimes God will act immediately, and the great cloud that was in front of us would seem magically disappear. The meeting was canceled. I don't need to go. Hallelujah. There we go. And that does happen. Sometimes we worry about things and they never happen, and we can just say, well, that was sort of wasted worry, as most worry is. And sometimes we're going to feel like those disciples, that we've got nothing here, but I'm going to go out and I'm going to live as if I did. I'm going to live with what Christ has given me, what God will give me, and I'm going to work with other people around me to transform the world. And we're going to discover that we have been fed and that we can feed others, because that's what we're called upon by Christ to do. And for this good news, thanks be to God.